is not safe for work for sexual violence. My boyfriend, Ted, and I have been dating for 3 years, living together for 2. Up until a few weeks ago, things were going great. He'd never given me any reason to think that something was amiss in our relationship. That was until I found the hair. Ted had taken a trip to the kitchen to grab a glass of water when I saw it. A long strand of stringy black hair glaring up at me from the sofa cushion. My heart plummeted into my gut. It obviously wasn't mine. I'm blonde. "Hey babe, what's this?" I asked, pinching the hair between my fingers. Confusion swept across his visage. "Ew, I don't know. Where'd you find that?" "In your seat. You're not lying to me, are you?" "No, of course not." "Teddy," I said, narrowing my eyes on him and tapping my foot. He locked eyes with me, stern gaze unwavering, and told me, "Stacy, I would never lie to you. You know that." A pang of guilt stabbed me in the chest like a butcher knife. Maybe he wasn't lying. That could have come from anywhere. Maybe he picked it up from a patient at work. I don't know. Can we go back to watching the movie now? I guess that makes sense. Miss Briannon does have black hair. See, that's gotta be it. You're getting yourself all worked up over nothing. Yeah, you're probably right. My anxiety is getting the best of me again. Sorry, babe. I tossed the hair into the trash can beside the couch and patted his spot. Though Ted had managed to convince me that he was telling the truth, something still felt off, like a nagging sensation that I couldn't shake. I should have trusted it. The remainder of the week passed without incident. Ted went about his business, and I didn't press him any further on the ordeal. But then it happened again. I had just returned home from work, ready to settle in for my relaxing 3-day break from the ER. Nurses are seriously overworked, let me tell you. I kicked off my shoes and sank into the couch. I looked to my left and groaned. The TV remote was missing again. I fished beneath the cushions, grappling aimlessly until my hand brushed something solid. Aha! I triumphantly yanked the elusive bastard from its hiding place and held it up to the light. My jaw dropped when I finally laid eyes on it. A bright red hair was smeared beneath my thumb. White-hot rage bubbled within me. How could he betray me like that? The man had looked directly into the windows of my soul and lied straight to my face. I was disgusted. I marched up the stairs where Ted lay in our shared bed, snoozing soundly. I was beyond pissed and I wanted answers. Ted, wake up, I growled, shaking his arm. He groggily opened his eyes. Oh, hey babe, what's up? What's up? What's up? This is what's up, I hissed, shoving the red hair in his face. What color is this, Ted? Huh? Where'd you get that, and why are you asking me about it at 1 a.m.? You're the one who found it. Maybe it came from you. Ted, I found this in the couch. I have blonde hair. You have brown hair. Whose fucking hair is this? I don't know. I've never seen it before. Your friend Beth has red hair, right? Maybe it's hers. I pondered for a moment. I'd completely forgotten about Beth. I did have her over the week prior. It seemed like a plausible enough explanation. I didn't think about that. Sorry. I won't bring it up again. I conceded, cheeks blossoming with color. It's fine. I'm going back to sleep now. Good night. stairs, pressing my ear up to the peeling white paint. And that's when I heard it. Heavy thumps accompanied by hushed screams. I knew that sound. Those were moans of pleasure. That absolute waste of space. He was still going at it. My head buzzed with a nauseating concoction of pain, grief, and anger. In the end, rage won out. I seized the door handle, determined to catch them in the act. Locked, I should have known. The rational part of me would have come up with a plan. Find a spare key, take pictures of the bathroom to use as proof, wait outside the door for them to inevitably come out. Any one of those options would have been smarter than what I did next. Ted, you sick piece of shit, open this damn door, I screamed, pounding fervently against the flimsy wooden frame. I could hear a sudden commotion. Hey, get in there. Ow. Thunk. Just a minute, honey. Ted, I swear, if you don't get your slimy ass out here right now, I'm going... The door swung open and I was suddenly face to face with the man I used to love so dearly. His hair was disheveled, obviously from the sex, and flecks of blood were splattered across his hands. Hey, baby, I thought you weren't supposed to be home until midnight. I couldn't contain my fury any longer. I slapped him hard across the face. Tears began welling in my eyes. I got off at 8, you son of a bitch. How could you do this to me? I work grueling 12-hour shifts, sometimes longer, to support us, and this is the things I get. Coming home to you banging some slut. We're done. I don't want to see your sorry face ever again. I turned to walk away, but Ted grabbed my arm. Wait, Stacy. Just give me a chance to explain. I wasn't having an affair. You weren't having an affair? Do you seriously expect me to believe that? I can see the little whore's black hair sticking out from that cabinet. You must think I'm a complete moron if you expect me to buy that for even a second. Goodbye, Ted. Have a nice... You know what? Have a shit life, you spineless dick. I spun around, feeling Ted's grip on my arm slipping away. Suddenly, the cabinet doors crashed open. Please, I need help, the homewrecker cried. I balled my fists. My blood boiled. This chick ruined my relationship and now she was making up excuses. Pathetic. You're damn right you do. Go see a psychiatrist, I scoffed, without so much as a glance in her direction. I couldn't bring myself to look at either of them. I began to make my way back up the stairs. I tried to put on a tough demeanor, but, truth be told, I was dying inside. I made it 3 steps when my hair was violently yanked back. What the fuck, Ted? You... A rag was crudely stuffed over my mouth, silencing me. Heavy chemicals assaulted my nostrils. I could feel myself fading. I glanced up as my vision began to blur. My blood turned to ice at what I saw. Ted was standing above me, smiling. Those depraved, soulless pupils were the last things I saw before my world went dark. I awoke in a pitch-black space. I was slumped against a wooden panel of some sort. I felt around the walls for something or anything to help me get an idea of where I was. Nothing, just that same smooth material all the way around the cramped confines. Then I got an idea. I frantically patted my pockets. Yes, somehow Ted had forgotten to take my phone. It was heavily damaged. I'm assuming that I fell on it, but I was able to access the flashlight. I stifled a scream when it illuminated my surroundings. I was trapped in a wooden cabinet, but that wasn't the part that made me want to vomit right then and there. The whole thing was drenched in blood and viscera. The noises from outside. It sounded like someone vehemently chopping meat, like the sickening splat of a meat cleaver carving flesh. My heart plummeted into my gut. Ted couldn't really be. I couldn't process it. Hell, I still can't. I don't want to believe that the man I loved so deeply can turn out to be such a monster. But the writing is on the wall. Literally. That brings me to now. I'm still stuck in this disgusting cesspool. I've tried calling the police, but my phone keeps glitching and returning to the home screen whenever I press on the phone app. Fortunately, Reddit still works, so I'm asking you all for help, because I found something a few minutes ago amongst all the gristle and entrails that's making my head spin. I'm staring at a bloody notebook. It's filled with a plethora of women's names. Each of them has been furiously scratched out, except for one. Mine. That was a really, really good story. Horror Junkie has really good stories in general. Let's see. Okay, moving on to another Horror Junkie story. This one is also not safe for work. It's called My Friend Asked Me to Download a Knockoff Dating App. There's something seriously wrong with my date. Come on, bro, just download it. There's so many hot girls on this app, Mark pleaded, swiping through a barrage of attractive women to prove his point. Look, I just matched with one. I'm telling you, dude, it works. I had always been leery of dating sites, but I'd be lying if I said my curiosity wasn't piqued. I don't know, man. Kinder. It's an obvious Tinder knockoff. Plus, I don't know if I'm ready to put myself back out there just yet. Mara really screwed me up, I retorted, hoping that not-so-subtle jab at my ex would thwart his attempts to persuade me. Okay, how long has it been now? 6 months? You gotta move on. You're a great guy, and any girl would be lucky to have you. Just because you picked one bad apple from the bunch doesn't mean they're all rotten. Pulling at my heartstrings, you sly bastard. I'll consider it, alright? Fuck yeah, you won't regret it, Jason. I downloaded the app later that night. I was honestly giddy to test it out. If it worked as well as Mark said it did, I'd be elated. Though I'd never admit it to him, the loneliness was beginning to take a toll on me. Mark was right. It was time to move on. I selected a handful of photos that I thought I looked decent in, hurriedly scrolling past the wall of pictures of Mara and me that I hadn't had the heart to delete. Looking at them always sent a pang of grief jolting through my heart, a constant reminder of the mess I'd made. But it was over. I couldn't change the past, only the future. So with that notion at the forefront of my mind, I steeled my resolve and finally deleted any remaining photos of my ex-girlfriend from my camera roll. After a week, I was a bit underwhelmed at the modest number of girls I'd matched with. When I was fortunate enough to kick off an interesting conversation, it usually fizzled out after a day or so. Give it time. You just got back in the game after 2 years of being off the market. You've got to give yourself a chance to learn how to talk to girls again, Mark advised. Here, let me see your phone. I'll try to give you some pointers to set you in the right direction. I sheepishly handed it to him. Come on, dude. You can't simp over these girls. Hey, you're really pretty. Isn't gonna get you anywhere. Okay, what do you start off with then, Johnny Sins? I start off with a cheesy pickup line. Sometimes it makes them laugh, and it's not a bad way to break the ice. Which one do you use? I queried, hoping to pill for his. I start off with, are you a parking ticket? Because you have 5 was drop-dead gorgeous. I had no recollection of ever coming across her profile in the first place, but I knew I had to make a move on her. "Alright, Jay, you got this," I muttered. With nothing original coming to mind, I copy-pasted the pickup line from my latest failed conversation and pressed send. I waited with bated breath for her response. She replied almost instantly. "Ha, that's a good one. Thanks, cutie." My heart skipped a beat. I messaged back right away. A little desperate, I know, but hindsight is always 20/20. She didn't seem to mind, though. Jessica and I really hit it off. I didn't understand why such an attractive girl chose to talk to me, of all people, but I crammed the thought deep in the recesses of my mind. It was really working. I was actually having a great conversation for the first time since downloading the app. After a couple days, I mustered up the courage to ask Jessica on a date. She enthusiastically agreed and we exchanged phone numbers. I called Mark to give him the good news. Okay, admittedly, I may have called him to gloat a bit over my imminent success, but that's besides the point. "That's awesome, bro. See, I told you the pickup line thing would work." "I have to hand it to you, man. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you were right," I admitted, much to Mark's satisfaction. "Glad to be of service, kind sir," he replied in his goofiest British accent. "You're a goon. She wants me to meet her at her place this Saturday. Dude, that's great. You still got a couple days to prepare, so just play it cool until then and you'll do just fine." "You're right. I just hope I don't screw things up." "Don't worry, man. You got this. I believe in you." Mark doted, trying to boost my confidence. "I really hope you're right." That night, I had one of the most vivid dreams of my life. I was alone in a dark house that I didn't recognize. The luminescent glow of the television was my only light source. I wearily stood. I felt tired, so tired, as if I was underwater with cement blocks strapped to my feet. I blearily called out into the encompassing black. "Hello, is anyone there?" I didn't expect a response, so a twinge of fear and confusion pulsed through me when a soft, soothing voice emanated from deeper in the home. "In here, baby," she sang, enticing me to follow. I moved as quickly as my heavy feet would allow, clumsily making my way down the hall. "Where are you?" I shouted. A figure began to emerge from a room at the far end of the hallway. It was Jessica. She looked absolutely magnificent. She was dressed in lingerie, her skimpy outfit proudly advertising her assets. Long brown hair flowed down her back, tapering off nearly halfway down. Her smile captured my heart, beautiful rows of stark white teeth gleaming back at me. Her stunning green eyes connected with mine, paralyzing me with her tantalizing gaze. She glided up to me and gently took my hand, lightly dragging me behind her. My heart pounded in my chest. Joy overtook me as we closed the distance to her room, every second mounting to the glorious crescendo that I was dying to experience. Then, right as we reached the doorway to her room, I heard an alarm clock. My eyes sprung open. Disappointment enveloped me as I realized it was just a dream, but it felt so real. Maybe it was a vision. A passing sense of delight bubbled inside of me at the thought. I had the exact dream every night that followed. Each time, Jessica and I would come so close to passing the threshold of her bedroom, only for my alarm to tear me back to consciousness. It was starting to freak me out with the consistency of it all. I reasoned that because Jessica was on my mind all day, my dreams were reflecting that. I tried not to dwell on it and focus on mentally prepping myself to meet Jessica in person. The days leading up to our date were full of anxious anticipation. When the day finally came, I was a bundle of nerves. I made sure to look my best, applying extra deodorant to mask the foul stench of the nervous sweat I was certain would come. I left my house a few minutes before 8, shooting Mark a text to let him know of my departure. I pulled into the driveway and messaged Jessica to let her know that I had arrived. She instantly replied and told me to let myself in. I thought it was a little strange that she wasn't going to greet me at the door, but I ignored the notion and timidly approached the house. Sweat began to pool above my brow as I pushed open the front door. Once I stepped inside, I froze in utter shock. It was the same house from my dreams. Everything matched, even down to the brown splotch on the carpet. Hey, I'm here, I stuttered, announcing my presence. In here, J-Baby. Jessica's sweet voice floated from within the house, luring me farther in. I cautiously trudged into the eerily familiar hall, and there she was. She looked even more gorgeous than she had in my dreams. That long brown hair cascaded down her shoulders. Her petite frame was flawless. Her minuscule amount of clothing clung to her perfect features in a way that only worked to embellish her even further. Her smile stunned me as I stared, transfixed into her glistening green eyes. She stood seductively in the doorway, beckoning me closer. My legs involuntarily drifted toward her, and in a matter of seconds I was standing before the radiant enchantress I'd been so eager to meet. She slipped her soft palm into mine, interlacing our fingers, and pulled me into her room. She led me straight to her bed, where she adopted a promiscuous position atop the covers. Care to join me? She giggled. You know it, I replied, donning my best sexy voice. I swiftly kicked off my shoes, discarding them at the foot of the bed. I began to approach her, but my foot clumsily caught on the corner of the bed frame, sending me crashing to the floor with a loud thump. Oh my goodness, are you alright, sweetie? Jessica implored, alarmed at my sudden mishap. Yeah, I'm fine. I breathed, preparing to lift myself back up. Before I did so, I caught a glimpse under Jessica's bed. A shriveled, rotten corpse glowered back at me. Hollow, sullen eye sockets cold enough to bore a hole through my chest. Fear coursed through me. At least a half a dozen mummified husks littered the floor. It looked as if their life force had been drained, leaving behind only an empty shell. Are you sure you're okay, hon? Mama can make you feel all better. Yeah, I just need to use the restroom real quick. I lied, shuffling to the hall as surreptitiously as I could. It's down the hall and to the left. Hurry back now, sweetie, she uttered, a tinge of impatience seeping into her words. Oh, I will. Once she was out of sight, I bolted to the front door, not caring that I'd left my shoes behind. I jumped into my car and floored it out of there, tires squealing as they grappled for traction. Jessica tried calling me repeatedly afterwards. I blocked her number and deleted Kinder. I receive calls from random numbers occasionally, but I can't definitively say that it's her. I have a sinking feeling that I haven't seen the last of her yet, though, because every now and then I still have that same recurring dream. Only now